you have $40,000 in charges this month. What's going on? And I said, bringing in business. I want to bring in business. It's like, really? With Michael Eisner at Disney, who was the CEO? I said, yeah, you never know. You spend 17 years of schooling, kindergarten through college, 25,000 hours of studying. Yeah. You can't prepare 40 hours for a job interview that will largely determine how they live. Most people spend between 15 and 30 minutes. Why not spend 40? It's your whole life in front of you. Coaching. And first year out, he made $240,000. Second year, $410,000. This guy was sleeping on the couch who didn't graduate high school. Separation is in the preparation.
Yeah. All right, so we've got a special guest today. I've got Randy Kaplan. We're going to talk about extreme preparation that I think is very important in any career that you choose to go or any path in any industry. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on today.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
I'm going to give him your background. It's going to take me a while because you had a lot of success, but co-founder of Akamai Technologies, which has about 10,000 employees and about $4 billion in revenue last year and serves a quarter of the world's web traffic. That's amazing. I want to talk about how you got involved with that, but you're also the managing partner of Jump Investors, a Los Angeles-based venture capital and private equity firm, and you invested in 90 plus companies so far. Your accomplishments have been amazing. I want to talk about how you got started. In 1996, you get in with Eli Broad at that time of his career, which I believe he was the only founder at that time that had two Fortune 500 companies. Is that correct?
There were three. Wayne Huizenga and Jim Clark were the two others.
Okay, two. But Eli had two companies that were Fortune 500 companies, correct?
That's right. Kaufman and Broad was the first one, and then Sun America was the second one. When I joined, Sun America had a $6 billion market cap, and when I left, 3 years later, it had an $18 billion market cap.
All this, and you've got 5 children, and you didn't even miss but a handful of events for those children. I thought that accomplishment alone was amazing. But the rest of this is absolutely over the top. So obviously, you believe in extreme preparation.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
It started really when I was a kid. I was bullied, I stuttered, I couldn't speak in class. I went to speech therapy 3 days a week, practiced a new technique by reading aloud every night for 90 minutes, years of speech therapy, and then ultimately became fluent. Mm-hmm. And it really showed me you put in the work. And when you're bullied as a kid, it really has an effect on you, and obviously you can't go into a restaurant and order food. And I remember finally I went to McDonald's with my speech therapist. Mm-hmm. We went to the drive-thru and I said, "May I please have a hamburger?" And that was a life-changing moment for me. Words came out clear, strong, no stutter, and it was great. And then in 6th grade as well, when I didn't have a lot of friends when I was younger. You're bullied, you're shy, and I wasn't a very cool kid. But I thought, okay, grades, I can work hard on my grades. And I remember in 6th grade was the first time you actually got a printout, not by hand, but it was a computer printout, and I saw all A's there. I said, wow, that's pretty cool. And later in my career, and later in my childhood, I learned that the harder you work, the better your grades are. And it really is a linear progression. So I do a lot of coaching right now, Joe, and I tell people in school, there should not be any exam that you go into where you don't get an A, if you're willing to put in the work. And we interview kids. My internship program, we had 10,000 applications this summer. And when I see a 3.2 on the resume, they should be an athlete or be working full time, because there's no excuse. That just screams laziness. And so those were the two things that really showed me if you prepare more than anybody else, that's what extreme preparation is about. It's a systematic, disciplined approach that allows you to dramatically improve your win rate, achieve results fast, or accomplish what wouldn't have been possible and what people believe is impossible.
Yeah.
And it's about the belief that we can't control all the things that happen in our life, and we can't even control our intelligence or talents. But what we can control, the inputs, the process, and how we prepare for what's next.
The effort. Yeah, exactly. I want to start with your story about how you got in with Eli Broad. And I know that you had sent like 300 CEOs letters. And, in our industry in commercial real estate, we're always reaching out to people. Yeah. So I think this can really relate well. And you've got 80 meetings out of those 300 letters, I believe.
I did, yes.
Like that. And can you kind of walk us through that whole story, how you really came up with this idea?
Yeah. Well, we got to go back in time a little bit. 3 years. I graduated Northwestern Law School. Again, I did well in school. I graduated top 1% of my class at Michigan, top of my class at Northwestern Law School. Came out here, lost my job 5.5 weeks after I moved here, had $3,000 in the bank,
Yeah.
and then I needed a job. So got one job, I fired 5.5 weeks later, got a job in Costa Mesa. I wouldn't move 6 months. They wanted me to move down there. I said, I'm not doing that. So I was looking for my third job in 8 months. I hated law school, I hated practicing law, and I wanted to be in business.
Right.
So I figured for me to go back to business school, it was 2 years, I don't test well, and go to Northwestern, it wouldn't have made a difference job-wise unless I went to Harvard or Stanford, because I had a good degree. And so I said, I'm going to write letters to CEOs, I want to be the right-hand person of somebody, and you have to think about this. I had knocks on my resume. What on earth is wrong with this kid? Right? And here I am, I'm writing letters to CEOs asking for informational interviews, not jobs. Successful people will give people the opportunity to teach and learn and mentor and take a meeting if you earn the meeting.
Right.
You have to earn the meeting. And so we had something back in the day called LexisNexis. It was a paid database.
Still around, yeah.
Our law firm had it. It's very expensive.
Yeah.
And our law firm had a subscription, and I'd have to charge all these searches to client development, and I racked up all these charges. One day the manager came in and said, you have $40,000 in charges this month, what's going on? And I said, bringing in business. I want to bring in business. It's like, really? With Michael Eisner at Disney, who was the CEO? I said, yeah, you never know. And so I wrote this very creative, different letter. I printed out every profile on LexisNexis they had on all these people. Eli had 43.
Okay.
I highlighted in my printout, I had a 2-bedroom apartment. The second bedroom was a letter writing factory. I highlighted every job they ever had, and then I incorporated that into a 3-page single-space spiral-bound letter with a cellophane cover that began with a quote they had given at some point in their career. Every CEO I said with, they've never taken a cold meeting in their life, but I had to see who wrote this letter. Each letter took 5 hours to write. 5 hours.
I can imagine.
And people, when I started the process, you tell a few people, never gonna meet with you. Your
Right.
idea is stupid, it's a complete waste of time, and that should ring people's bell, right? That should be the bell go off. And if you're passionate, you believe in yourself, you shouldn't listen to anyone who told you that. So Eli, I happened to get a meeting. I dropped off the letter to South America. I was working at the law firm right across the street in Century City. I got a call, Mr. Bro, read your letter, I'd like to meet with you. I had 9 days to prepare for that meeting. I studied like crazy, basically a full work week preparing for that meeting. When I went in there, I had created a list of 20 questions that I thought he would question me. 14 were on the list, and I started peppering him with questions as well. And at some point during our meeting, he told me about this job, assistant to the chairman. I politely cut him off, and I said, yeah, 5 people have had that job. I told them their names, dates they worked in South America, what they were doing at that point in their career, and it just blown away. And when you meet with somebody and do the extreme preparation, that's your goal. Blow someone off their chair with the depth and breadth of your knowledge. And that's what it is. Every meeting, every speech you ever go into, that's what every single person should do.
Yeah.
So I left the office. He said, I'm not promising you a job, but I want you to take a class at UCLA, the accounting class. Left his office, ran into the parking garage right across the street. It's a hot day, 90 degrees, humid. I'm in a suit and tie, sweating.
Nervous.
Drove to UCLA,
Yeah.
double parked, got a catalog, got back to my car, had a ticket, went back to my apartment next to the jacket on the box, typed a thank you letter, had it back in his office in 57 minutes. And that's what you got to do. You got to show people you want it. And I tell people all the time with thank you notes, don't wait a day. Don't wait 2 days, an hour.
Yeah.
All right, you got a meeting, you go downstairs for coffee, you block out the time in your calendar. If you're looking for a job, carve that time out. And that's what you do. You go down, you bring a thick note card. If it's a thin note card, you're flimsy. If it's a thick card, you're strong.
Right.
And you handwrite the card, you go down and you give it back within 60 minutes. And there's a massive difference between getting a card back in 60 minutes versus later in the day, or an email. That's lazy. Don't send an email, a handwritten note.
Yeah.
If you're meeting someone on a Zoom, FedEx the thank you note. You'll be the only one who ever did that. It's $20. It's the best money you can spend if you're interviewing with someone who isn't with you and not in state. That person will remember you forever. He'll be the only person who ever sent a FedEx thank you note.
Yeah.
And it'll separate. The separation is in the preparation.
Yeah. Yeah, I would completely agree because I think, especially in our industry, we do so many pitches every week. That little thing of a thank you note, it can get you tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in some case.
Oh, yeah.
Very powerful.
Millions.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something, and it's so easy. Yeah, we
Easy.
just kind of, we think, oh, I'll send an email.
Lazy.
Or, yeah,
Lazy.
it's what everybody else will do. This can really help you stand out.
Extreme preparation will help you stand out from everybody else. Everyone said, oh God, 40 hours for a job interview. You spend 17 years of schooling, kindergarten through college,
Yeah.
25,000 hours of studying.
Yeah.
You can't prepare 40 hours for a job interview that
Yeah.
will largely determine how they live. Most people spend between 15 and 30 minutes. Why not spend 40? It's
Yeah.
your whole life in front of you.
Where did you learn this extreme preparation? Does this come from parents, or is this something you figured out?
My dad worked hard.
Okay.
He was a solo practitioner lawyer.
Okay.
Rumor had it he left home at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I went to live with him one summer. I was out at the bar. I came back late. One thing led to the other. And I walk in and, tiptoeing in the front door. I'm about to open the door and the front door opens. And there's my dad. I said, wow, I guess he really does leave.
Yeah.
Leave for 3:45 for
Yeah.
the office. But he had a strong work ethic. My mom did too. She sold the homes,
Okay.
residential broker. And I saw them both work really hard.
Yeah. Well,
I'm-
now you're doing coaching. So how do you coach this? Do you find that
Yeah.
it is coachable, or is
Oh,
this
yeah.
just in somebody?
Oh yeah, I mean, I kick people's ass,
Oh, do you?
right? I mean, what are you doing? You
Yeah.
know, and here's 2 real estate stories. So my friend Luke, hockey player, minor leagues, great player, stops playing at 25 years old. Industrial real estate, gets out during COVID, right? These warehouses are going crazy, bonkers, right? No one's going into the office. He's cold calling, he's driving around hours, hundreds, thousands, right? Calling, no one, got no meetings.
Right.
He said, let's take a walk. I said, all right. So we had a safe distance walk up Tiger Tail where I live, and I said, how much money are you willing to spend for a meeting? He said, what are you talking about? I said, how much money? He said, that's absurd. Personal R&D budget. How much money are you going to set aside, like a company, you're the Luke company now,
Yeah.
to pay for a meeting? He said, I don't know. I said, how much money do you have in the bank? Because when I coach people, I want to know what their financial situation is first, right? We got to have a plan.
Sure.
And so he said, $50. I said, okay, $1,000. You're going to spend, you're going to get 20, you're going to go to Starbucks. You're going to get those half pound of coffee or whatever it is. You're going to get 2 mugs. You're going to get a nice little basket or whatever it is. You're going to send them out with a cute little note. Said, hi, my name is Luke. I'd love to drink this with you in person. Look forward to hearing back from you. Boom. It was COVID, so it's hard to get people to come in. So normally he'd go 20 for 20, right? But no one's coming in. He went 2 for 20. Nothing happened that year. Those guys loved him enough that they referred him business. Next year, full year, $540,000 in income. The next year, $1.2 million in income.
Yeah.
Right? Because he just followed up and he kept doing it, and he's like discipline of the extreme preparation, and he just, he crushed it.
Yeah.
There's another guy who was sleeping on a couch, had $500 to his name, couldn't hold a job at Starbucks. He woke up one day, so he said, I'm going to work for the most successful residential real estate company in Los Angeles, small boutique firm. They sell $20 million homes and up. I said, okay, so what's he going to do? He used extreme preparation. He prepared for, he was going to walk into this firm and say, I want a job. So what's the likelihood of success that that's going to happen? A guy, no education, didn't graduate high school. He's just going to walk into the best firm, one of the best firms, near zero. But he studied everyone, 5 partners, studied everyone, looked online, looked at every house that they sold, every street. He drove around to 100 listings. He took notes on the listings. He knew price per square foot. He knew volume of transactions. He Googled, he read every search result. He walks in there and he says, hi, I'd like a job. And the receptionist looks at him and says, okay, well, drop off your resume. And said, well, actually, I have charcuterie boards with the logo of the firm and the name of each partner, the 5 partners in the firm. Said, hold on. She goes back, gets the partners, and you know the outcome already. He got the job.
Yeah.
Right? He's a guy sleeping on a couch. He did the work. He listened to my coaching. And first year out, he made $240,000. Second year, $410,000. This guy who was sleeping on a couch who didn't graduate high school.
Thinking out of the box.
It works.
Mm-hmm.
It works. You got to do the work.
Yeah.
Everyone is hiring. Even during COVID,
Yep.
people are hiring. Even if someone lays off 50,000 people, if you're that person and you do the work and you blow someone off their chair, that should be your goal in every single meeting that you have.
Yeah.
Great things happen.
Oh, they do. You create them. You just have to create them.
A little creativity helps as well. Think outside the box.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a guy that I know, he had a tech startup, and he was making cereal boxes and sending them out with the company. It was all about the company that he was sending it to. A little expensive, but it got him in a lot of doors, and him getting a great job.
I mean, expensive. There's no better investment than you and yourself.
I agree.
I mean, you're going to a private college these days, $300,000 minimum. Public college, $40,000.
Yeah.
But all that time, all that resource. I mean, there's no better investment than yourself.
I agree. So the preparation is great, but the follow-up, what as I'm hearing, is also a key part of it.
Right.
When you're doing your coaching and mentoring, what do you teach on follow-up?
Preparing to persist is a 5th step of extreme preparation. It is equally or more important than any other step of preparation.
Mm-hmm.
The deal is never done, whether you win or lose the deal. If you win the deal, there's more business from that client, different clients. And if you lose that deal or don't get that deal, it's just a function of when. And if you put the work in, and so what most people do, they don't get the job. They don't get the meeting, thank you. Right? Don't even send an email.
Right.
Right? It's over. It's never over. It's never, never, never over. Right? You don't get the job. What I recommend is you ask people, why didn't I get the job? Some employers will tell you, most won't, but you ask at least. I do, by the way, because I want to give people feedback. I want to help people. I want people to learn and teach, and sometimes it's something as minute as their hair was messy. Well, if you don't have the pride and care and thought process to go in the bathroom and make sure your hair is not a bee's nest, you shouldn't be there. Right? If you're a man and you're wearing a tie and the tie is not straight or there's a gap or your shirt is not wrinkled, I don't want you working with me. Right? You're sloppy.
Yeah. Well, it's really your brand. How you look is your brand.
It's your brand. Right? You have a LinkedIn photo and it looks like a mugshot. I'm not even going to hire you. And everyone looks at LinkedIn first. So it's following up with people. Mm-hmm. And what most people don't do is you don't get the job. You should send a nice note that says, hi, Joe. It was really great to meet you. I love learning more about you and your company. I look forward to keeping in touch. And here's the killer. Here's the one. If there's anything I can ever help you with, please let me know. Mm-hmm. And how many people ask that ever?
They don't.
Nobody. Mm-hmm. Every phone call that I get on, I'll say, what are you working on that I can help you with? And everyone says to me, oh my God, I've never heard that before. Yeah. Right? Why wouldn't you offer that?
Sure.
Whether you're asking them for something or they want something in return. I mean, that's what you do to get ahead. That's what you do to separate yourself.
I think we kid ourselves, though, because this is an excuse I give with some of our agents. I go, I don't want to bother them. That's why I'm not doing it. I followed up with them twice. I called them, I emailed them. I don't want to bother them. How do you overcome that?
You send something.
Yeah.
Send something nice.
Yeah.
Right? Don't be lazy. Look up their LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Look up the charities that they're involved in. I made a $100 contribution in your name. I think what you're doing is fantastic. I hope we can meet one day.
Yeah.
Right? You're a Michigan football fan. I interviewed this guy.
I'm from Nebraska. Let's be careful on this one. Okay?
All right. Well,
sensitive.
I wouldn't. I mean, back in the day.
Yeah, it was a
Tom Osborne. I mean, no one listening to the show knows who Tom Osborne is, but Nebraska football is not what it used to be.
It's coming back. It's coming back.
It's coming back. So this guy comes in, job interview, bombs the interview. Yeah. Right. I said, okay. And then in 5 minutes, I just knew. He was all nervous, said I was intimidating. I mean, I don't think I'm intimidating. People tell me sometimes I'm intimidated. So he sends me a note. 2 days later, said I bombed the interview. And he sent this little leather in Michigan football.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, he was hired before even bringing him in. He knew he bombed it. He basically said he's sorry. Here's what happened. And here's just something, a token that I knew would make you happy. Now, these are the kind of people that I want working with me on my team. I had a great reaction to this. This was a sales job. He could sell doing things like this. And again, some people would say, oh, you're not supposed to do that. It's risky. Well, he had nothing to lose. So why not take the risk?
Can't fall off the
You're
floor,
a
right?
sales guy, they're not clients right now and it's not working, so do something different.
Right.
All right, get your guys in here, man. I'll light them all up,
Yeah.
and I'll tell them we'll go through the same thing again, and I'll guarantee your guys will all get meetings.
Yeah.
But you got to spend the money and you got to do the work.
Yeah.
So I have on LinkedIn, I think you max out at 30,000 connections, and I get a lot of invites. I'm something like 29,900 right now.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So now I'm calling people out or whatever, but I get 10 a day. Randy, I see that you're a venture capitalist. I'm investing. Do you have 15 minutes to talk to me? I can't do it. But if you send me the kind of letter that I sent Eli, that's spiral bound, and do the work, and you talk about my podcast, and you talk about Sandy and all the things, and you give me very specifics about my podcast, I'll meet with you all day long.
Yeah.
You'll become a lifetime mentee.
And this isn't that hard, right?
It's not that hard, and that's the thing. Extreme preparation, it's intimidating. You can't do it. Anyone can do it. Just do the work.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I sent out 200 resumes, Joe, and no one responded. Well, let me see that cover letter.
Mm-hmm.
No wonder why your cover letter sucks. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's AI or it's a form letter
Oh,
or you change the name and there's nothing specific.
Mm-hmm.
My program, internship program, 10,000 applications this summer. It said write a detailed cover letter. 65% of people did not write a cover letter. Some of these are 4.0 students at Harvard, and they can't read directions. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you can tell when it's been AI. AI.
You can
read
generally tell, but when people start throwing in quotes from Mark Cuban on my show, that is not AI generated.
No.
That's the real deal.
Yeah.
Right? They're digging deep, and you got to. Anyone can do it.
Right.
Any skill set. We're talking about this guy who didn't graduate high school. And by the way, that guy spent his last $500 on those charcuterie boards. That was it.
That was such a brilliant idea.
Brilliant idea.
Yeah.
But again, create your own research and development budget. That's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
That's what any salesperson should do.
You said something when I was doing some research, and it says planning for the outcome you truly want, not just the likely one. And I think we have a habit of, we fall into that a lot in our industry.
You gotta write down your goals.
Yeah.
And you gotta look at them every day.
What you want to actually get out of this meeting. Because I can bet you that of those, getting hold of the 300 people, the 300 CEOs, 80 people, 80 meetings, 80 of how many of those people are still in your life now? Of those 80, if they're still around.
Some have died.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And some are older now. This was 1996.
Right.
Oh, it was a long time ago. Most of these people are retired.
Moved
Some
on.
people have become really good friends and mentors. Strauss Zelnick
Yeah.
was CEO of Fox at age 30, runs BMG now, was chairman of CBS. He's just a phenomenal human being.
Right.
And here's one thing that I learned along the way. You gotta treat everyone with respect. The low person down, the custodian in your building, you better know that person's name, to the CEO. And when I was writing these letters, people would keep me waiting. I was the least important thing in the room, right? Sometimes 1 hour, 90 minutes. I remember some studio chief going to his house and sitting in his kitchenette, and there's pictures of every president in the U.S. the last 30 years of him. And when I finally got into the office, Joe, his Ferragamo shoe, I could see the label, was 4 feet from my face on his desk.
Oh, God.
By the way, that guy today, he's a friend, and his wife is incredible.
Yeah.
And I did remind him of this when I met 12
sure
years
you
ago. I
did.
thought, oh my God, you can't believe that. But it's Strauss I met with, he's CEO of BMG, and I go and I meet, he's 3 minutes late. And I'm sitting there. He comes out to the lobby. He was on the phone, headset, talking to Clive Davis, who was one of the biggest music producers ever.
Oh, I know who he is. Yeah.
And he went like this. He said, "I'm so sorry that I'm late. I'll be right with you." And that had a big impact on me.
Sure did.
Here I was not important. I was essentially a nobody. I wanted to meet him for the first time. And that had a huge impact on me in terms of how you treat people. Because, to this day, I hate keeping people waiting. If I'm 1 minute late, I can't stand it.
Yeah.
And you just treat everybody well,
Yeah.
especially the people who don't have things today. And now it's funny, I get to meet people that I met, re-meet people 20 years ago.
Sure, yeah.
And said, gosh, you helped me 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget some of these things until people remind me. And
Sure.
it's very rewarding.
Were you surprised how many, that's a pretty good hit rate. Emailing 300 CEOs, getting 80 meetings. Were you surprised you got that meetings, or were you kind of expecting more meetings?
The first one, yeah.
Yeah.
It was with Mark Platt, who's running Columbia TriStar Pictures. I'm on a studio lot. I'm this kid in Detroit. Movies are incredible.
Yeah.
Right? I think we all have a movie star, rock star fantasy.
Sure,
So
yeah.
I'm there on the lot, and I get a nice parking spot up front, and there's movie sets all around. And I go in there, I'm sitting in the waiting room, and again, he's the CEO, so there's all these movie posters. I said, wow, this is incredible. And I go in the office, he's got a basketball hoop in the office, and I remember sitting there thinking, wow, look at where I am right now. I earned this meeting.
Mm-hmm.
All that work. Everyone had told me, you can't do it, no one's going to meet with you, it's dumb, it's stupid, it's a waste of time. And there I was. Stacy Snyder was the second meeting. And then it just started rolling from there. So you get one big one, and then you just keep cranking away.
A motivation.
Oh man, I was so jazzed.
The high.
I mean, I was spending the second bedroom. I get home from work, 8 o'clock at night, and I was cranking away at 9 o'clock, at 10 o'clock some nights. I was writing these letters till 3 or 4 in the morning, working with the guys in the mailroom who loved me because people treat them like shit. These guys were my buds. I'd buy them lunch. I'd bring them lunch. So we'd sit there putting together my spiral-bound tab letters at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. They loved it.
Yeah.
Right? When I got this job, they high-fived me, big dinner,
Yeah.
for these guys.
Oh.
These guys were my buds. And again, there's a lesson there.
Mm-hmm.
Treat everybody well.
Yeah.
Right? These guys were ignored.
Yeah.
And these guys become my best friends and my secret weapon in the firm.
Yeah.
They made these incredible letters for me. So I was surprised at first, and then I knew I was on to something.
Yeah, because to get through to that, man, mostly these big CEOs have so many levels of people before them that
Yeah.
letter had to go through. So it had to impact multiple people in the process to get to
Well,
any of them.
what I learned is people read their mail.
Yeah.
Okay, and this was an informational interview request, not a job interview request.
Right.
Job interview, shredder. Informational interview, it's a different ask.
True.
So I did learn, and that was one of my concerns as well. Are people going to read the mail? They will. If you do the work, people are going to read those letters 100% of the time.
If it's impactful, yeah.
If it's impactful.
Yeah.
Today, I email people for my podcast, and yes, I've had success now, and I put on these cold emails who I've had on my show. The Viore CEO I emailed yesterday, wrote right back, would love to do your show.
So you're still cold emailing people?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Mark Cuban was a cold email. I mean, half my guests are cold emails.
Are they really?
Yeah.
What is your, if you don't mind me asking, but what was your hit rate? Obviously, it's pretty good now.
On the email, that's a good
Yeah.
question. Probably 20%, 25%.
That's high.
These are big people.
Yeah, that's very high
Yeah.
for that level of people.
Yeah, I
I
That's
mean, Mark
very high.
Cuban wrote back in 4 minutes.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing how when you get to that upper level, how quickly they do respond? Time is so important to them. They just do everything right away. Or most of them that I've run into do things right away.
It really varies
Yeah.
by person,
Right.
right? It depends who's emailing. Obviously, I've had some success, so I have credibility in my email.
Right.
They'll read the first line, I'll explain who I am, and
Yeah.
Akamai I mention, and
Yeah.
that's a very well-known company, and
Yeah.
I'll put a stat in there, 10,000 employees, $4 billion in revenue last year. That's instant credibility.
Right.
But even if you don't have that, if you do the work, Mark Cuban, or people will respond.
Yeah.
Mark is famous for responding quickly.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah. It's amazing to me because we always think that these big people are never going to give us the time. But if we ask, I always tell our agents, just ask.
Matt Ishbia
Yeah.
owns the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
He runs a company, I forget what the market cap is now, but it was $14-15 billion.
Yeah.
Boom.
That fast.
Fast.
Yeah.
Now again, I'm from Detroit, and I said I'm from Detroit, and yada yada yada.
That's where he's from originally.
Yeah, that's where the company is based.
Yeah, it's based out of. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, a lot of good stuff comes out of Michigan.
great stuff.
I've got a friend up there right now, and he owns a marina, and just absolutely loves it up there.
Yeah.
He was living here in Southern California, and he goes back there heads back in the spring, and just says there's just nothing like Michigan in the summer, spring and summer.
Where does he play?
I don't even know which part of that. He's right on a big body of water, but I'm not sure what it was even called. But he loves it there. So it's absolutely beautiful. The people are absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Great place to grow up.
Let's talk about your podcast. So, how'd you get started with the podcast?
I had an intern 9 years ago.
Mhm.
As part of my program, I have speakers each week come in, from the CEO of Dale Carnegie, who's one of my mentees and one of my closest friends, to guys like Navid Mahmoud-Zadigan, co-CEO of Moelis & Company,
Okay.
professional athletes, venture capitalists, Brian Lee, had all these incredible people. It's a teaching internship.
Okay.
And the lessons are life-changing. I spend 60 to 90 minutes a day with my interns, and we talk about entrepreneurship, venture capital, private equity, real estate, all kinds of topics. And one of the interns said to me, "You should start a podcast."
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, in all my brilliance, "No one listens to podcasts. I'm not doing that." And then one day, 4 years ago, without ever listening to another podcast, I still have never listened to another podcast in my life, said, "I'm going to start a podcast." And I said, "Who am I going to start with?" And you start with a blank canvas like you do when you create a company,
Sure.
and you'd love to have a referenceable customer on day one. So Sam Zell, real estate guru, had been a friend and a mentor for a long period of time.
That was a good one.
I'm going to ask Sam.
Yeah.
Sam was a member of the Forbes 400. He invented the modern day REIT. I think he was chairman of 7 New York Stock Exchange companies. Very famous in the business world. I'll call Sam up and said, "Hey Sam, I'm going to start a podcast, and I was wondering if you'd be my first guest." Now we're friends, and he's a mentor, and I was nervous that he was going to
Sure.
say no.
Yeah.
And the words weren't out quick enough where he said, "I'd love to." So that was my first podcast. And then I had Sharon Stone after him.
Okay.
I met through a mutual friend, Price Arana. Shout out to Price. And then Cliff Kingsbury, the football coach, was my third guest. And then I had Brett
You're all
Keywell.
over the place.
Yeah, well, I wanted
That's
in today as well. My show has people from all different businesses, walks of life, from business people, CEOs, entrepreneurs, investment bankers, private equity people, stylists, athletes, motivational speakers like Tony Robbins, people like Gary Vee, Mike Tyson. I've been very fortunate to get to interview
Sure.
and get to know, prepare to persist, some amazing people,
That's amazing.
many of whom become good friends to this day.
Oh, well, it's tough to do, and sounds like you're knocking it out of the park. Now you are working on a book, correct?
Called Extreme Preparation.
I was going to let you talk about it. Let's dive into it.
So the book is going to create a lesson plan on from A to Z how you prepare better than anyone else and how it leads to extraordinary results.
Okay.
So I think that's all I'll say about it at this point. It will come out next year, hopefully mid-year,
Okay.
third quarter of next year. But I hope it's a life-changing book. I hope it's a must-read for anyone who wants to improve their life, especially people in business.
Yeah, I think it's good. I'll get you back on once that book gets out. What's next for you?
I'm working on my podcast. I'm doing a lot of professional coaching now. So I'm expanding my coaching business. We have 3 different plans. There's a basic plan. And the coaching goes from, I have a new client. He comes from a wealthy family, and someone wanted me to just say, "Hey, can you talk to this kid? He wants to figure out what he wants to do." That's unusual.
Sure.
It's usually a founder, entrepreneur, someone mid-career, tons of sales guys.
Yeah.
Who, again, I've given you 2 examples, and I've got 15 examples of people just like that. And the coaching I love. We map out people's personal life first. We come up with a rubric, how important is family to you? And I won't work with someone who's married, who does not put their family first. That's my DNA, and I just won't do it.
You know, I want to touch it. I want to stop you for a second. I want to touch on that because that was one of the most impressive things. Well, not that all of you haven't done this. Everything's impressive, but to have 5 kids and to have missed a handful of events for them over the years that you're building all this,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Well, thank you. I was lucky, very lucky, that I made a good amount of money when I was younger.
Right.
So I didn't have to ask my boss. I didn't have a boss, and I haven't had a boss in many, many years. I could take off when I wanted to. So when I got divorced, I drive my kids to school. I pick them up every day at 2:30. We'd go home. They'd sit at the kitchen table. They'd do their homework, and I'd go work. And it's been great. I remember being at a bachelor party that I had to go to in Cabo, and my daughters had a ballet recital. They were 3, and it was just killing me that I was just not going to be there.
Right.
And so, you're up all night long, and you're thinking about it. I just said, you know what, I need to be there. And so I started calling around at 1 a.m. Who's got a private jet?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, God, is that absolutely fucking crazy? I'm going to spend $20,000 to get home for my 3-year-old ballet recital. I said, I'm not doing that. So I went and I found 3 stops flight. I got on a plane at 4 a.m. It stopped in 2 places. We landed at like 11:30 on a Sunday. I got there right as they were walking in, and just like, oh my God, it's one of the greatest, most prideful moments of my life as a parent, dad, and they still remember that, Joe, to this day.
I'm sure they do.
One of the greatest moments ever.
That's
You got to be there for your kids.
It's a real accomplishment, and God bless you for having that.
Thank you.
That's something. But all right, well, I think we've learned a lot from you today. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me in. Thank you. I'm flattered that you reached out to me.
Yeah.
Congrats on all your success as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's when you get the book out. Let's get you back on. We're going to put the link down to your coaching and to your podcast.
Yep.
So people can find you.
And my Instagram is at Randall Kaplan.
Okay.
Please watch all my episodes. Hope they inspire you and motivate you, and a lot of good stuff in there.
It's amazing. I've watched a lot of your videos over the last few days, and there's great advice there for everybody. So thank you very much.
I appreciate you. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And for those of you watching, if you could, please give us a like. And if you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe.